This man had spent 50 years polishing the railroad tracks. From youth to old age, he had always done this job. One day, Kino passed by and asked him why he kept doing this. The man simply replied that it was his job. After graduating from university, he joined the railway company, which assigned him the task of polishing the abandoned tracks that might be used in the future, so they'd be ready when needed. Since then, he had walked along the tracks every day, polishing them as he went. But the tracks seemed endless, and he continued this routine for 50 years, without anyone telling him to stop. For the sake of his wife and son, he persevered. Occasionally, he would wonder if his wages had been sent home and how his wife and son were doing. Hearing this, Kino told the old man a story. He had once traveled through a country where the technology was so advanced that people didn't need to work. All production was done by machines, and people gathered in large buildings to do something in front of the machines. Kino couldn't understand what they were doing, so he asked a man nearby. The man explained that they were working. Kino was puzzled and asked why they worked if the country didn't need any labor. The man replied that they were there to check the data calculated by the machines. The machines worked so fast that one day of machine work was equivalent to 1 year of human labor. Their job kept growing, and if the machine's results were wrong, they would recalculate everything. The machines never made mistakes, so they had to keep calculating until their results matched the machines. The man said that humans couldn't just live easy lives. If they couldn't endure some hardship, they would eventually become useless. Therefore, life must have work, and that was their purpose. Kino finally understood, but the old man, after hearing the story, thought that these people were crazy for choosing such a meaningless job. Kino then asked the old man one question: how long did he plan to keep doing this job? The old man wasn't sure. He could only wait for the railway company to tell him to stop, or he would continue until the tracks ended. As Kino traveled along the tracks, he kept thinking about the old man's situation. But up ahead, the tracks suddenly vanished. Another old man had come and removed them. He said he had joined the railway company at 16 and that his job was to remove tracks. He had 5 younger brothers to support with this job, and no one had ever told him to stop. So, he had been working for 50 years. He hadn't met a traveler in a long time, so he asked Kino to tell him stories from his journey. Kino stood still and shared the story about the country where no one worked. At the end of their conversation, the old man said that if he lived in such a country, he would never work. But just as they were about to part, they noticed new tracks ahead. To Kino's surprise, another old man appeared, saying that he had laid those tracks. He had been doing this job for about 50 years, ever since he was 15. His job was to lay new tracks, as the company believed that one day they would be used. The old man had done this for 50 years, laying tracks one section at a time. Every time he finished a section, new materials would appear before him, which he thought were sent by the company. He had kept working for his sick mother at home, so he had persevered until today. Kino didn't tell the story this time. He didn't want to disrupt the workers' way of life. In reality, the man had no smile on his face after realizing the need for his repetitive, meaningless work. But the railway workers were proud of their work because it allowed them to support their families. This was the difference in their mindset. Although they couldn't change the outcome, they found happiness in knowing their work had a purpose. Kino's journey was similar. The flowers, trees, and plants in the forest would make him lose his way, but as long as he followed the tracks, he would eventually find the destination of his life's journey.